By 1959, Waimea had become the epicenter of big wave surfing, fostering a new crew of big wave talents. Pat Curran, Peter Cole, Ricky Gregg, Fred Van Dyke, Jose Angel, Kealoha Kaeo, and Greg Knoll, whose big wave obsession and even bigger wave personality would forever link him with Waimea Bay.
Waimea was my gal, man. She was like, I mean, I surfed with this beautiful woman who allowed me to get away with shit as long as I didn't act too outrageously towards her. There was times when the surf would get perfect, you know, and you go out and catch a wave, just make this thing and just have your adrenaline dripping out of your ears, paddle back out, do it again. You get a little too cocky, you get your ass slapped a little bit, she'd let you know it. But for the most part, there was just this full-on love affair that took place for 25 years, you know.
Nicknamed the Bull for his charging style and clothing himself in a pair of loud jailhouse striped trunks, Knoll emerged as surfing's first big wave celebrity.
He had the perfect big wave persona. He looked like a big wave rider with that big thick neck, and he had the black and white striped trunks, which was genius.
Surfing needed Greg Knoll. When you look at some of those surfers, they were a stoic bunch. Greg Knoll introduced flamboyance to it. He introduced showmanship. He introduced that colorful aspect that most people associated with hot dogging Malibu. Not just the way he surfed, but just the spirit of it. He introduced that into big wave riding.
He wanted to ride the biggest wave that anybody had ever ridden.
Greg made his reputation on taking off on the biggest wave, the heaviest wave.
He stuffed himself into positions that no one else would want. He'd sit over deeper. He'd take off later. He'd spin around at the last minute to go. I mean, he was surfing's like first hellman.
He just liked confrontation. He sought it out in human terms and in big wave terms.
I was really a young, skinny kid, and I got my ass kicked from the time I can remember. I went to school, had my ass kicked. I went to high school, had my ass kicked. And in some ways, maybe there was something there that drove me to want to pursue big wave riding, to make some kind of a statement. You know, I'm not a psychologist. I don't know. All I know is once you get into it, there's an adrenaline, a stoke, and that high is so addictive that once you have a taste of it, it's very difficult to not want more.
But for Greg Knoll, big wave surfing became more than just an adrenaline fix. It became his identity, his way of life, and his business.
He was doing it to promote his surfboard business and worked actively to promote himself.
Greg was a good hurdy-gurdy man. He knew how to self-promote himself.
As well as being a successful surf filmmaker, the nickel and dime surfboard business Knoll began in his parents' garage had by 1965 become a 20,000 square foot surfboard factory built around his big wave image.
I had a big building, I had 67 employees, I made 150 boards a week, and for the most part I was just turning money over because I was selling them so cheap, you know, we were all competing with each other.
He was a board designer. He was a really influential manufacturer. He was the most complete surfer of the 50s and 60s, by far. No one else could even come close.